The Catholic Church is no longer considered a neutral arbiter in the battle against Nicaragua's leader. Clergy have been labeled a terrible enemy of President Daniel Ortega.
Porque ni soy político, ni ninguno de los obispos somos políticos.
Cardinal Leopoldo Brenes responded, saying he is not a politician and does not want to start a coup against the government. There was another protest yesterday against the president. Human rights groups say more than 350 people have been killed since demonstrations began in April. And the cardinal has sent one of his most trusted priests to the U.S. to inform Americans about the plight of the church in Nicaragua. He will be taking part in a historic meeting organized by the State Department. And last week, I had a preview of that meeting when I sat down with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He told me the focus is to shine a spotlight worldwide on religious persecution. Correspondent Wyatt Goolsby has more tonight from the State Department. Good evening, Wyatt.
Good evening, Lauren. Officials here are inviting survivors of discrimination to share their stories this week. It's the first meeting of its kind, like you say, and the ambassador at large for international religious freedom, Sam Brownback, tells me the United States must take the lead on the issue.
Religious freedom, that's in the DNA of the United States. That's why a number of people came here in the first place. But unfortunately, a majority of the people in the world live in a religiously restricted environment, and then often that is a deadly environment.
Ambassador Brownback says it's time the U.S. organizes a global alliance to push back against religious persecution. He visited the Holocaust Museum in Washington today as a reminder of men and women who have lost their lives because of their faith. Father Raul Zamora of Managua, Nicaragua, says Catholics in his country are suffering right now. Earlier this month, he and hundreds of students spent 16 hours in a siege outside his parish, Divine Mercy, but he never lost faith.
Of course, there is fear. There's fear, but I felt something at peace within me. I felt at peace within me, and somehow that the Lord gave me strength. There were students who told me, you know, I'm atheist, he said. But you know what? I believe in your God. He says, I believe in your God.
Hundreds of Nicaraguans have died in protests against the government that began in mid-April. Father Zamora says the government believes the protesters are trying to overthrow the government and the church is helping them. Father Zamora says the church is not taking sides but trying to help the most vulnerable. Father Zamora also says he is risking his own life by coming to the United States, but he says he's willing to take that chance to let people know what's really happening to people of faith in his country. Lauren?
It's an amazing gathering for the Secretary of State to call together people from countries all over the world, NGOs, other organizations, Christian organizations. What is the goal of this meeting, especially if he's bringing like-minded people together?
Well, Lauren, the State Department is hoping to bring all of those groups and organizations, like you mentioned, together to form an alliance among people of faith and necessarily people of no faith as well, all over the world. And the idea is that they'll be looking at religious persecution across the globe, especially in certain countries like China, Iran, North Korea, and Pakistan, some pretty problem areas. And otherwise, they'll be talking about ways they can come together and really work together around the world to combat this issue. Lauren?
For more of my interview with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, please go to our Facebook page. Correspondent Wyatt Goolsby reporting from the State Department.